What is going on, everyone? Good afternoon, and welcome to a Tuesday, April 2nd edition of Established to Run's NBA Injury Analysis Show. I am Mark Dankenbring, joined as always here by Mike Gallagher, and thankful to have Mike here with us today as big slate on tap, lots of injuries to talk through. So great to have one of the best injury analysts in the space to talk through it with us today. How you doing, Mike?
Pretty good. Yeah, got to dig in a little more today. Did too much best ball drafting over the weekend. We had a big podcast that came out, the premium edition, also up for subscribers. I'm I think 46 best ball drafts. Not doing any today. Too big of a schedule here, but looked at all the minutes. Feel pretty good and ready to break this slate down.
Yeah, that's awesome. We have the general strategy podcast for playoff best ball on the pod feed now, and then you guys also recorded a special premium version with some more tips and tricks that is behind the paywall and on the ETR website right now. So I'm sure some great insight there. I will catch it later tonight and start drafting. I'm still at 0, so got a long way to go to catch up to your 46, but that's awesome that you're grinding and obviously putting out good content around it as well. Yeah. Yeah. We'll get there. Kawhi last game of the slate, but big news today. Let's start with some other big stars in the first game of the night. Los Angeles Lakers at Toronto Raptors. It's a front end for both teams here, with the Lakers traveling to Washington tomorrow and the Raptors traveling to Minnesota. But tonight, the Lakers have listed Anthony Davis and LeBron James questionable here. AD with that left knee hyperextension, and LeBron with the same left ankle tendinopathy we've seen him listed with pretty much all year. And then a few out tags here as well for the Lakers. Gabe Vincent, Cam Reddish, Jared Vanderbilt, and Christian Wood are all out. So a chance the Lakers are pretty thin tonight. Any read on the Lakers, potentially sitting AD or Bron tonight, or how do you think they'll handle it kind of on this back-to-back set here?
Definitely seems like a one-on, one-off. They're in Washington tomorrow to face a very banged-up Wizards team. The Raptors are, I would say, a better team than the Wizards are now, despite all the losses that the Raptors have been piling up. Talk about why in just a second. But yeah, just so we know that they're trying to manage LeBron. So I think it's like 80% chance that LeBron's missing either today or tomorrow. I think AD would be more likely to play. Again, this is the thing. He's been able to play. Like we saw that, that back-to-back 52-minute, then they sat the next game. Like there was no reason to play him. So I think AD has maybe a decent chance to play in both, but LeBron is almost certainly sitting one of these. I just don't know which one. And if they did sit him, LeBron would likely be Spencer Dinwiddie, as you mentioned. Gabe Vincent out today for management. He returned from a long time off and looked fine. He's going to have a ramp-up period according to Darvin Ham. So, LeBron's obviously healthy, got a standing ovation in Brooklyn, 40-point game, looked freaking great. That's pretty much it. But yeah, obviously Taurean Prince would benefit. They are going to get likely Jackson Hayes back. He missed the last game. We saw a brief stint of Colin Castleton, but actually the headline from a role substitution standpoint was Rui Hachimura playing a pretty good bit of center. So that's something that we would want to note if they did happen to sit AD in one of these two games.
Yeah, and Toronto, pretty small team at this point with Kelly Olynyk starting at center and not much size behind him. So could definitely see some Rui center if no AD or even no Bron tonight. Let's head over to the Raptors side, though. In UT's, they are getting some talent back tonight with RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley, both listed probable. Still plenty of out tags to deal with here for the Raptors, as Ochai Agbaji, Scotty Barnes, Chris Boucher, Jakob Poeltl, DJ Carton, Jonte Porter, and Gary Trent are all ruled out here. Gary Trent listed for rest. He's pretty much kind of been the main rotation player. That is the new news here. So who do you think is most likely to start for the Raptors tonight with Barrett and Quickley back? And what's their ramp-up period been like? How many minutes do you expect them to play? Kind of what's the background on those two coming back from personal reasons rather than, an injury return?
Yeah, so they've had multiple out tags with the reconditioning tag, and they were back with the team for about a week now. So they've been ramping up. They went through full practice yesterday. Even Emmanuel Quickley even did media. His uncle passed away, unfortunately. Sad, sorry for the loss there. But yeah, he'll be back and running a ton. Like if this game's close, we could see, I think, upper 30s, 36, 37s. We got like a minute off basically on top of the big spread here, which is big, especially if one of these guys sit. Like it sounds insane to bet a team that's as bad as the Raptors have been, but I think they might be able to hang if one of these guys on the Lakers side did sit. So again, pretty much expecting them full roll. Now the Lakers are big, right? So There's like a couple candidates here. Like my initial read is Grady Dick and Bruce Brown start, and then RJ would guard LeBron. RJ was a secondary defender when they played the Suns back when before RJ went away for personal reasons. So like maybe they do that. I don't know. I mean, maybe they go to Noora. Maybe they go to. They even said Garrett. They spent time in practice teaching Garrett Temple the playbook, which is like that made me perk up. Like, okay, so he's a candidate. I maybe McDaniels, for LeBron. It's just like, do you want to ask RJ because you're like Bruce Brown can't guard him. I don't think they want to put Grady Dick on him. So kind of where we're at. So we don't have a great read. We've got like a lot of hedging here. But we know Javon Freeman Liberty, he was almost out of the rotation. He only played 3 minutes in the last 2 games when Quickly was in, and RJ missed those. Now, Gary Trent was out for that. Um, um, Ochai Agbaji was out for that. So it's not apples to apples. But the bottom line is here: Kobe Simmons is on the second. His 10-day ends tomorrow. So there's a chance that you know Javon gets really, really cut down. So we got a lot of hedging here, but again, leading a starting lineup of Emmanuel Quickly, RJ Barrett, Grady Dick, Bruce Brown, and Kelly Olynyk. Bench, again, a lot of splitting, but we got a little bit of Garrett Temple, a little bit of Jordan Noir, a little bit of Kobe Simmons, some McDaniels, and then Muhammadu Gee should be in the mix. So pretty tricky situation. This was probably one of the trickier minutes projections to come up with today.
Yeah, those most likely starters sound good to me. That's also the way I would lean. But as you mentioned, they're kind of dealing with some 10-day contracts here in Kobe Simmons and are obviously tanking down the stretch here. So can always, there's always some more funny business on the table with teams like this. So certainly something to keep an eye out on as we head into tonight. All right, let's move along to the next game on the slate. Milwaukee Bucks at Washington Wizards. Another front end of the back-to-back for both teams here. Milwaukee will travel to Memphis tomorrow, and the Wizards will host the Lakers, as you mentioned. On the Bucks side, Damian Lillard ruled out here. He also missed the last game, and Patrick Beverley started and played 36 minutes. And then also on the injury report, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Chris Middleton, and Pat Bev all listed probable. So again, we've come to trust the Bucks probable tags a little bit more tonight. But any insight here on how they'll approach the front end of a back-to-back here against the Wizards?
I've got I have got my 28 after alarm on. We know this is a back to back. This is the Wizards. They again play tomorrow against Memphis. So like I think someone's gonna sit. Like whether they sit Middleton today, we know Giannis. They've been managing him. Missed him a couple games. It wasn't a quote injury according to Doc Rivers. So I think he's gonna be. I think someone's gonna sit honestly. So we'll see. Patrick Beverley should start. He played a doozy according to Doc Rivers, and he said that he'll talk about on his podcast, which made me chuckle. But yeah, we'll see. Maybe Patrick Beverley's podcast will break the news on if the Bucks are going to manage someone here. But yeah, other than that, not too much to add. Again, Beverley just picking up a ton of minutes. AJ Green picking up some. We'll see a lot more handling going to Chris Middleton. And Giannis Dame was handling a lot. He was like top 3 or 4 in touch time. Pretty much for the second half of March. So pretty big roles coming for those guys, and obviously a matchup that is tremendous with the way that the Wizards are bad defensively.
Yeah, pretty much a dream matchup for Giannis here if he does suit up without Dame and against the Wizards. So it could be a massive role for him. On the Wizards side, potential for them to be pretty thin tonight as well. A lot of out tags here. Kyle Kuzma, Tyus Jones, Bilal Coulibaly, Isaiah Livers, and Landry Shamet all out. And then also some G League out tags here, which is pretty impactful. Patrick Baldwin Jr., Jules Bernard, and Justin Champagnie are all out on G League assignment as of right now. So those three have been, getting decent run for the Wizards here. So could be, right now they're at 10 men, and then Rashawn Holmes and Jared Butler are listed questionable tonight. So if both of those guys are in, they would have 10 men available. If they are out, they would have eight men available tonight. So potentially really tight here. Any read on Rashawn Holmes and Jared Butler's status, and any G League tracking here? Any chance like those G League guys get upgraded throughout the day? What's your read here on the Wizards?
Yeah, G League schedule. They're in the G League playoffs and they're playing today, so I think they're not coming. So there could be a pretty tight rotation if one of those guys did sit. We saw Butler get dinged up last time. didn't look serious. I think he's probably in. Rashawn Holmes hurt his toe, walked straight to the locker room when he got hurt, and then got ruled out basically, like pretty close to it. So I think Butler's got a better chance to play, but they are getting sides back. They are going to get Eugene Omoyuri back today, which is a pretty big assignment. Dark horse to start. To me, we've seen Patrick Baldwin get the start for size. I think they kind of like that. Anthony Gill coming off an awesome game. I think that was a career high for him with 18 points. So I think that it wouldn't be crazy to see Omoyuri start and get Giannis or Anthony Gill, who's played almost all center. He's only had I want to say 15 minutes all year next to the true centers. So, but he's been a 4 a lot in his career. So I think he could switch. I think he's a candidate. Kind of don't think they're going to start Johnny Davis. We know they like Butler off the bench. So that's kind of, we got a whole lot of hedging here. Tristan Vucevic is going to be in the rotation. According to Brian Keefe, he said they want to kind of see where he's at. I don't think he's going to start for the floor spacing. It's just, you don't want to do that there. So, but yeah, Marvin Bagley, we know he wasn't a minutes limit. He'll have Rashawn Holmes possibly back competing with him. Obviously, his minute ceiling gets way better if Rashawn Holmes did miss. But I think there's a chance that Holmes could possibly miss. But I think he's got a decent. It didn't look terrible when he did suffer last week.
If Holmes is in tonight, do you think he could potentially start, or do you think Marvin Bagley is pretty much locked into that starting spot?
I wouldn't say locked in. We know that they had Bagley off the bench, and it wasn't because of a minutes limit, according to Brian Keefe. So we've got an edge on Bagley starting, but not very confident. Their defense was a little bit better with Holmes from a rim protection standpoint. Again, still bad, but not 50 points per game bad, where they're like, oh my God, the Wizards really gave up 80 points at the rim today. Like that kind of bad. So, but yeah, leaning Bagley, but not confident.
Sounds good. And yeah, just bottom line here is the minutes could get really high again for the starters. Corey Kispert, 41 minutes. Last game, even losing a couple to garbage time. Denny Avdia, 38. Jordan Poole, 34. So could be really tight here. And we've seen Brian Keefe, run up these starters a decent amount here for Washington. All right, let's move along to the New York Knicks at Miami Heat. Island game for both teams here, so hopefully no funny business on either side. On the Knicks injury report, OG Anunoby and Julius Randle remain out, and then Mitchell Robinson is questionable with that left ankle sprain. Any insight here on Mitch Rob as he continues to battle back from this ankle injury?
Yeah, it seems like it's should be in. We saw him get hurt in the San Antonio game a couple games ago. Did not play in the last game after the during the San Antonio game. He was limping a pretty good bit. Had to play overtime because Hartenstein fouled out in that game against the Spurs. And then he said afterward about playing through it, he said, "I ain't no female dog." So I think he's in. I think, but he definitely could miss. And obviously that would mean Hartenstein, better minute ceiling. Precious would be in a pretty good spot. And then just with thin out the rotation, obviously still seeing huge minutes out of Deuce McBride. I think we landed at 42 and then 40 for Josh Hart. Pretty big game for them in Miami. So we could see pretty elevated minutes. Obviously Jalen Brunson's been amazing, the 60 ball over the weekend. So pretty interesting game. One of the more important games on the night. A lot of bad teams in play, or Western Conference teams playing Eastern Conference teams, stuff like that. So definitely one of the bigger games on the slate. Probably I guess there's probably 3 of them. Yeah, three big games. That's one of them.
For sure. The Cavs, Knicks, and Magic all within a game of each other in the 3, 4, 5 seed in the East. So pretty impactful games coming down the stretch here. As I think each team has around 6 or 7 left. So still some movement to be had here, and a tough matchup for the Knicks on the road. In Miami, on the Heat side, they'll be without Tyler Hero and Josh Richardson. And then Nikola Jovic, Caleb Martin, Duncan Robinson, and Terry Rozier are all probable here. So unless we get any changes throughout the day, expect those 4 to suit up. But kind of the notes from last game is that Patty Mills was cut out of the rotation. Do you think that could potentially continue tonight, or any other notes you have on the Heat?
Yeah, Terry Rozier got dinged up after the game. Eric Spoelstra said he's fine and should be good to go. So it's the Heat probable, but feel pretty good. Rozier's in there. Again, mostly it's just management. So expecting these guys to be pretty full. Obviously, Duncan Robinson returned, played okay. Minutes are going to be pretty strong here. But yeah, the other note is Thomas Bryant looks to have leapfrogged Kevin Love for now. Eric Spoelstra said that this is kind of where they're at, and they didn't want to kind of mess with it, so expecting him to be off the bench. So yeah, same starters: Terry Rozier, Duncan Robinson, Jimmy Butler, Nikola Jovic, Bam Adebayo. Haywood Highsmith's playing great, and he's taken a lot of minutes away from Jaime Jaquez, and even Caleb Martin to a lesser degree. So we've got still a little bit of Haywood Highsmith because he's playing so well, but pretty messy. They've got a little bit more depth than we're accustomed to now that they've got Duncan Robinson back.
Sounds good. And yeah, with the size, the Knicks playing with a decent amount of size now that Mitchell Robinson is back. If he does suit up, Precious Achiuwa will be at the 4, so a bit more size for the Heat to compete with. So I would expect Highsmith to remain in there tonight. Let's move along to the first ESPN matchup TNT matchup of the night. OKC Thunder at Philadelphia 76ers. It's the front end of a back-to-back for OKC, who do play on ESPN tomorrow at Boston. So a couple big national TV games coming up here. The Thunder. Hopefully we can get some more Shea Gilgeous-Alexander clutch moments for that clutch player of the year award. But tonight the Thunder will be without Jalen Williams, who is already ruled out, and then 4 G Leaguers ruled out here as well. And then SGA listed questionable here with a right quad contusion. So need him to suit up in order to have a chance at those clutch moments. But any insight here on Shea and any other news or notes for the Thunder on like who you expect to start without J-Dub?
Yeah, definitely a management tag on SGA. We saw him get that the out tag over the weekend. Even got called doubtful for this game in New York. That got upgraded questionable and then played and then hit the game winner. He is the second most clutch player on the Thunder. J-Dub, league best 81.4 true shooting in the clutch among players with like 25 games and like any sort of usage at all. But yeah, it's a back-to-back tag. Like they're not. Mark Daigneault said after the game they're not going to put him in harm's way. We saw him limping a lot through this game at MSG, so definitely a decent chance he misses. On the easy part, I think pretty sure Gordon Hayward would start for J-Dub. We saw him start the last time J-Dub missed for the ankle thing while he's listed here. So again, pretty minor. J-Dub did post-game media, wasn't really even asked about it. So it's just a management thing. Then obviously if SGA did sit, that would almost certainly be Casey Wallace sitting. But yeah, I'm pretty sure SGA is going to sit one of these. This is clearly something that's been bothering him. He suffered this injury back on March 20th. So again, a management thing, quite clear it's bothering him. But Mark Daigneault says that he's like able to play through it. So just they don't want to wear him down. They got the edge for the 1 seed right now. So I think that they maybe try to take it easy, especially now that Embiid's still listed out. So could see them sitting both and then maybe trying to get Boston, or maybe they just play SG today, sit in tomorrow. So pretty tough read. Obviously, on top of the case in Wallace, there would be more minutes for Isaiah Joe, Aaron Wiggins. Cameron Williams would all benefit for a little bit more size. So, but yeah, getting pretty thin. Obviously, Josh Giddey's been playing awesome. Triple double last game. He would have a very without J-Dub. So it should know if J-Dub being out, we saw SGA and Giddey had okay lines. It was J-Dub's offense in that SGA list game. He had 27 drives, like 8 minutes of touch time. So J-Dub and SGA being out would be big for Josh Giddey.
Yeah, definitely. And I could see them doing a one night on, one night off here for both J-Dub and Shea. Because you mentioned they are holding on to the 1 seed in the West, but still just one game separating Denver, Minnesota, and OKC. So still pretty tight there. They do need wins down the stretch here. But yeah, potentially tonight against the no Embiid Sixers, a little easier than Boston tomorrow. So we'll see how they approach it. On the Sixers side, that's the headline. No Joel Embiid. Still is teased that he could return on Tuesday, but that is not the case. The Sixers also without DeAnthony Melton and Robert Covington here. And then some G Leaguers out with Ricky Council and Jeff Doughton listed out here. So that could be impactful because Tyrese Maxey is listed questionable here with hip tightness. If he were to miss, we've typically seen Doughton or Ricky Council get some minutes among the guard group. But any insight here on Tyrese Maxey and his availability tonight? And then if he were to miss, insight on the 76ers rotation and how tight it could potentially be.
Yeah, went through shoot around, so it looks like Maxey's going to be in for the hip tightness tag. Missed the last game, and Campaign picked up a big role, a lot of driving, talked up like crazy by Nick Nurse. So we know that the Campaign overlap went away, but maybe he earned it because he played so well in a big win over the Raptors there. Obviously, no Embiid's a big deal. That Thursday game against the Heat seems like it, right? I mean, that's big game if they want to try to get out of the plan with the clock working against them here. So, but yeah, expecting Maxey in. no limit. They'll run him pretty full for hip tightness. But again, we could see Buddy get squeezed. I think KJ Martin would fall out of the rotation entirely. And then, Tobias Smith's been pretty safe. They like Nick Batum a bunch after the game. Nick Nurse said that they want to try to get him 5 catch and shoot shots a game after, a big game, 19 points for him. So, but yeah, Maxey, if he's in, he's starting, obviously. And then Lowry, Oubre, Bamba, Tobias, and then Campaign would start if he didn't play.
Yeah, and then just a projection note. It's tough for us to know how many center minutes to give to Paul Reed and Mo Bamba with Batum playing well, and this is a matchup that the Sixers could go a bit smaller. So I think we see a decent amount of Batum tonight, regardless of who's available. All right, let's move along to the Houston Rockets at Minnesota Timberwolves. Front end of a back-to-back here for the Wolves. They host the Toronto Raptors tomorrow. So, a little bit more of a competition tonight at home against the Rockets, who got Cam Whitmore back over the weekend. But Houston is still without Tari Eason, Alperen Sengun, Steven Adams, Nate Hinton, and Jermaine Samuels. So, as I mentioned, we saw Whitmore return over the weekend. He played 22 minutes. Amen Thompson was cut down quite a bit in that game, but that was mostly due to foul trouble. Jayshawn Tate was kind of a casualty of Cam Whitmore's return. So, any news and notes here from the Rockets and how you expect them to approach tonight's matchup in Minnesota?
Yeah, pretty tough L there. Just flamethrowing Luka in the first half. They were not trapping, and Udoka basically said that that's the path they chose. Dylan Brooks guarded Luka a bunch, and I guess I shouldn't say didn't guard him a bunch. I should say. So, yeah, and then Jalen Green fell off a cliff. They were really aggressive on him. Shout out to the Mavs. The Mavs, like, people give Jason Kidd a lot of crap. He's pulled a lot of right levers with defensive scheme. I'm a big Sean Sweeney guy. He's like their main defensive guru. I think he's been A+ on game plan. So shout out to the Mavs. I drafted a lot of Luka yesterday. I'm kind of feeling the Mavs a little bit for best ball. So yeah, I think you laid it out there. Cam Whitmore will play. We'll see if this affects the sentiment. It's getting squeezed a little bit. We see Jock Landale sometimes get up there when they play bigger teams. But Jabari played great. They kind of left him a pretty good bit. So yeah, I'm expecting the same starting lineup. Obviously, Amen Thompson. I think they need his rebounding big time. So I think you pretty much throw that game out. I think he could, touch, mid 30s if things are cooking overall. And then yeah, Cam Whitmore off the bench, he'll be locked in. Landale locked in. But then after that, they're getting pretty squeezed. Like maybe we see Bridget Bullock, Jayshawn Tate, like a little here and there. But yeah, they're pretty much ready to go. And as they look to start a new win streak.
Cool. On the Wolves side, just Karl Anthony Towns listed out here. Otherwise, pretty clean. We've gotten accustomed to questionable tags here on Gobert and Anthony Edwards. So nice to see a clean injury report. Any news or notes that you want to hit on with the Wolves?
Yeah, just that Gobert's been dealing with this. We saw him get that Q tag. Chris Finch said that they're trying to help out on the boards with some of their role players to take a little pressure off him because he's not 100% from the rib strain. So just did want to note that. Obviously, he's starting and playing all he can. Same starting lineup should be good. So yeah, I don't really have too much else to add. They've been pretty consistent here, running this kind of like almost 3-point guard bench. Obviously, Nas more of a 2-3, but he has played point guard before, including starting it in point guard sometimes. So yeah, that's we're pretty much ready to go here. 7.5 point spread. Don't have too much to add.
Sweet. Let's head over to Cleveland Cavaliers at Utah Jazz. Front end of a back-to-back for Cleveland here as they play at Phoenix tomorrow. We already got a big name ruled out here as Donovan Mitchell listed out for injury management. He joins an out list that includes Dean Wade, Isaac Okoro, and Craig Porter Jr. And then the G Leaguers are also listed out here as well. So another thin team here with the Cavs. They just have 10 men available, and 3 of those are centers and Damian Jones, Jared Allen, and Tristan Thompson. So could be a pretty tight rotation here for the Cavs and Utah. A matchup we love to attack in DFS. I want you to take me through what you think about the Cavs tonight, and then give me a threes made projection for Sam Merrill and one of the best matchups possible.
First of all, I gotta say, you're slipping, sir. You missed the Isaac Okoro great toe tag?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Brutal.
I'm kidding. So obviously the big news was Donovan Mitchell got ruled out. Now, digging in as I go on to hashtag the watch here, Karis LeVert not in a starter's jersey. So when did this news come? When did this Donovan Mitchell go through shoot around and they decide to hold him out? Maybe he was in the starter's jersey. They pulled him. I don't know. But we know Karis LeVert usually starts. I think he would start, but maybe not. Now they have Max Strus back. Maybe they go to Merrill. I'm not sure. Because it's a little bit different when you're starting with Sam Merrill. So I think there's a chance they start someone else because having Strus back could definitely help there. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
But I kind of
I mean,
expect Harris to start.
at least on the screen, it looks like Merrill in the background's getting
Yeah.
ready to shoot, and he has the same color jersey on as Levert. So
hmm
I don't know if I'd read too much into that. I would definitely lean Levert starting at this point in time.
Yeah, that's kind of. I'd be pretty surprised if he didn't. Capable of minutes. I don't think the wrist thing's bothering him anymore. You see, he doesn't have anything wrapped on it. So, yeah, expecting him to start. Coming off a bad game. I mean, they got completely dominated by Nikola Jokic. But yeah, we'll see for sure. All the Garland he can get in the best matchup. He would be the cover boy if I had to pick a matchup's cover boy right now. I love guards against Utah. So for sure him, for sure Strus, for sure Jared Allen and Mobley. I mean, it has to be, right? Like, they're not going to start Marcus Morris. They're not going to start Niang at the 3. They're not going to it has to be Lillard. So I feel pretty good it's going to be him. So despite the Cavs are a pretty legit starters jersey team. So yeah, I think that's mostly it. But yeah, again, just the A+ of A+ matchups for Darius Garland tonight now.
Sweet. On the Jazz side, a lot of out tags here as well. Jordan Clarkson, John Collins, Lauri Markkanen, and Johnny Juzang listed out. And then the G Leaguers are also out here besides Kyra Lewis. So, we saw the Jazz run pretty tight 9-man last game. There's a chance they could do that again tonight. Do you think the starters here are locked in as Keontae George, Colin Sexton, Bryce Sensabaugh, Taylor Hendricks, and Walker Kessler?
Yeah, I think so. I'd be pretty surprised if otherwise we saw Bryce Sensabaugh bounce back after we took it over on him. So yeah, don't have too much to add. We'll see probably Taylor Horton Tucker getting the mix with Johnny Juzang out. Obviously, this team is very much tanking. This is not a back-to-back, and they are full on sitting guys out here. Should have mentioned too. Donovan's fine. He didn't look right though, and Bickerstaff said that he's still kind of dealing with it and getting his legs back and all that. So honestly, not that surprising. I thought they'd give him a Q or a P or something. But yeah, he'll be good in the Mortgage Lender Bowl tomorrow with the Cavs owner and the Suns owner. They're big into the mortgage game and they hate each other. So they want to make sure Donovan's ready for that one. National TV too. So but yeah. Mega minutes for Keontae, mega minutes for Bryce. Could see Taylor Hendricks getting up there a pretty good bit. Colin should play a pretty good bit. So yeah, pretty thin matchup. Got better. Noah Coro for the great toe. Truly the one of the great toes in the NBA defensively. So yeah, this could be a pretty sneaky game if the Cavs kind of can't hang around despite the big spread.
For sure. And last game, we were kind of hedging minutes a little bit on the Jazz in Sacramento. But tonight, without the G Leaguers, we can pretty confidently project it tight here and even have some spillover with Kyra Lewis. But other guys are still, projected at 35 minutes. So could get tight here for the Jazz and Cavs, who are, both a little bit limited personnel wise. All right, let's move along to the Spurs at Denver Nuggets tonight. Victor Wembanyama against hopefully Nikola Jokic. On the Spurs side, a few very impactful out tags here as Jeremy Sohan and Devin Vassell are out tonight and announced out for the rest of the season, so we will not see them until 2025. Keldon Johnson, Dominic Barlow, and Charles Bassey also listed out here. The G Leaguers are available, so they do have some deeper bodies here that are available, but without this group, without Sohan, Vassell, and Keldon Johnson last game, Victor Wembanyama had a 43.8% usage rate. So a ton of usage coming Wemby's way here. Any other insight or news and notes on the Spurs tonight?
Yeah, should be the same situation here. Keldon, different injury. We saw him have the knee thing last time that cost him some time. Returns, hurt his foot again, missed the last game. So yeah, should be pretty much locked and loaded. Trey Jones, Malachi Branham, Victor Wembanyama, Jetty Osman, and Julian Champagny. Sergio Mamukashvili, a main bench piece. Pop said he is one of his favorite players. So he's locked in. Obviously, Zach Collins, Wemby will cover the center minutes. Still see a little bit of Blake Wesley, Devontae Graham. We'll see what they do with some of the other G League-ish guys if they did want to go there. But I think we feel pretty good about this overall situation. Huge spread here, 16-pointer. So they would need just Wemby to go absolutely ham to hang around as Denver gets the altitude edge. And coming off a very impressive win, especially if they get Jamal Murray back. And based on the spread, I think there's a decent chance Murray plays.
Cool. It is an island game for both teams here tonight. So, decent chance that Jamal suits up, but he is listed questionable with right knee inflammation. Zeke Naji and Vlatko Konchar remain out. And then Aaron Gordon and Nikola Jokic listed probable here. So Jamal Murray, as I mentioned, listed with right knee inflammation. I believe he has been listed with ankle stuff leading up to this point, but did I miss an update over the weekend or any insight here on the change of listing?
Yeah, they flipped him midweek. We saw him roll his ankle, and then they switched it, I want to say Wednesday, to the knee thing. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure this is why. But it'll be managed. He's had this knee thing before. Mike Malone said that Mike Malone sounded pretty optimistic that he's coming back pretty soon after the Cleveland beatdown over there. So I think he's got a good chance to miss. I expect the minutes limit here, especially with the big spread. I think we came to 30 minutes on him there. So definitely, I mean, considering how he's been hurt a lot, the hamstring thing, the ankle thing a couple times, like being listed with a knee this time of year. We know last year they really dialed it back on Joker, who I want to talk about in a second. So I think Murray could be pretty limited. Obviously, if he's out again, and I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, this is a big spread. They should be okay without him. Reggie Jackson would start. Obviously, Christian Brown, Peyton Watson, Justin Holiday, all those guys benefit. Nikola Jokic isn't 100%. Mike Malone said after the game, Michael Malone, excuse me, said after the game that, he's still kind of dealing with some stuff. We see the double injury tag. Those aren't BS tags. And they kind of like maybe Malone was just, being nice, but he was like, hey, he wanted to go out there and get the win after the Suns left a bad taste in their mouth, he said. So Joker, not 100%, but, not 100%, still goes 16 dimes, 18 boards, 26 points in 35 minutes in a bad matchup. So despite the rhetoric of the injury stuff, it seems like he should be good to go. But, just don't automatically assume that probable tag is like, oh, I'm ignoring it. Like he's dinged up.
For sure. That makes sense. And just looking ahead at the Denver schedule, they do not have any back-to-backs this week, which is pretty rare for, kind of these heavy slates that we have coming up. Denver just plays tonight, Thursday at the Clippers, which is a TNT game. And then they host the Hawks on Saturday. So if Jamal, if they want to be hesitant with Jamal and save him for that Clippers game on Thursday, maybe that's the case, or same with Joker. But that's pretty much, the Thursday night game is the premier game of the week for them, at least standings wise, as this one, you mentioned massive spread against the Spurs. They should be able to clean it up even without one or two of their studs. Okay, let's move along to the second to last game of the night, our second TNT game, the Dallas Mavericks at Golden State Warriors. On the Mavs side, Josh Green listed out, and then Derek Lively is questionable with right knee soreness. So any read here on Derek Lively's availability, and if he were to miss, any chance of a Dwight Powell sighting, or do you think they would just go kind of all Daniel Gafford and Maxi Kleba at the center tonight against a relatively small Warriors team?
Yeah, probably it would be a mix. I think that they could definitely, go with the Kleba, PJ Washington stuff, especially in the matchup, right? So I kind of lean they would just kind of go small. Curious to see if he gets cut down regardless overall, but yeah, not necessarily going to be a Dwight Powell on that matchup sounds terrible. So I kind of lean that they would just play Kleba and play a little bit smaller, push up Tim Hardaway Jr., Dante Exum, who's been, one of their main guard that could push up his minutes too. He's got a little bit of size, but they could use him to guard Steph a little bit. So yeah, I would lean they would go smaller if they didn't have him. Obviously, one of the hottest teams in the NBA right now, Luka coming up to 47. Curious to see how they handle him trap wise. The Warriors kind of trust themselves to rotate on defense, so maybe they're more inclined to put two on Luka and kind of deal with it. So maybe a Luka dime situation. We'll see after the Rockets refuse to do it in the first half. But yeah, I think that's pretty much gonna cover it there. Yeah.
Cool. On the Warriors side, we have Dario Saric listed out, Klay Thompson listed probable with right knee tendonitis, and then Jonathan Kuminga questionable again with this bilateral knee tendonitis. So
Mhm.
Kuminga has missed the last 3 games. We've seen Trace Jackson Davis start all 3 of those. Any chance of a return for Kuminga tonight? And if he is out, do you expect Trace to stay locked into that starting power forward spot?
Yeah, I think he would definitely start bilateral. The listing changed to the bilateral, as you noted, so that's something of note. Definitely think he could miss. Obviously, if he didn't start, Trace should certainly start. More Moses Moody minutes. Chris Paul, Gary Payton. We'll see if maybe Gary Payton gets pushed up a little bit. I still think they would start Trace, even though the matchup may be. We love Kerr loves matchups, especially against like high end talent. So I wouldn't be like 100% sure Trace Jackson Davis is going to start if Kuminga didn't play. Obviously, if Kuminga did play, he'd be starting. But yeah, I think that pretty much should cover it. But obviously, huge game, especially for the Warriors if they want to try to climb out of the 10 spot.
Any concern here on Klay Thompson's probable tag with the tendonitis? It is an island game for the Warriors, but just given his injury history, always notable when he pops up on the injury report.
Yeah, I think I mean, it's a pretty big game, so I'd be pretty shocked if something happened there, but could see, a little bit of a ding on him. His minutes, maybe this is a product of his minutes coming up a little bit. We saw him off the bench, wouldn't hit 30 minutes very often, and then they've been hitting him up. So I think that maybe that could be a product of a bigger workload. And then, they just haven't been able to manage, right? Like they got to win every
Mm-hmm.
game. So I think that's pretty much where we're at. So could see some performance suffer. But yeah, nice win. That they had a nice little big third quarter against the Spurs, and should mention I was at my parents on Sunday watching. My dad saw Victor Wembanyama for the first time. He was like blown away. He was like, "Oh my god, how is this guy so good?" I was like, "Thanks for checking out any of my content, Dad." But anyways,
That's funny. Yeah, Wemby is wild, and the reach is just, I mean, unlike anything
mhm,
we've ever seen. Obviously, fun
mhm,
guy to watch. Okay, let's head to last game of the slate. The Los Angeles Clippers at Sacramento Kings. We tease at the top that the big injury news
mhm,
here is Kawhi Leonard listed out with right knee soreness. Not great given Kawhi's injury
mhm,
history. We did have the Clippers announce that Norman Powell will be the starter, so that's nice for us as this is the last game of the night. So we do know going ahead of time it will be Norman Powell in the starting lineup there. But yeah, any thoughts here on Kawhi? Obviously, right knee soreness a big deal for him.
mhm.
Well, how do you think the Clippers will handle the rotation in his absence? Do you think they'll play bigger with full center minutes of Zubac, Plumlee, and Tice, or do you think they'll mix
Mhm.
in some PJ Tucker? Kind of what are your reads early on in the day here of the Clippers without Kawhi?
Yeah, I want to talk background first. Not great. This is the same knee he tore his meniscus last year, the same knee he had the ACL tear in 2021, I believe. He's had multiple right knee injuries going back to 2012. This is not the same knee that had the jumper's knee quad tendonitis thing. This is the other knee. So that was like the bad knee, but then now this is the bad knee. So really bad. Going back to LA for treatment, announcing a starter like that's bad. As I mentioned, I am overexposed to Kawhi Leonard because I thought that they have a chance, to make a run with the way with the way they can score and how diverse their offense can be. So I will not be drafting much Kawhi Leonard over the next few days until we get clearance there. But yeah, I've got big concerns. Obviously, Norm Powell would be headed for a huge role here. Curious to see if that affects his 6-man market. He's obviously more than eligible. He came off on the bench. And then Paul George just absolutely destroyed the Hornets with just catch and shoot, off ball screening stuff that was popping off. So he'll be in a huge spot here. Keegan Murray probably going to guard him. I expect Fox to get Keon Ellis there. So yeah, big news. Like we talked about the Donovan Mitchell thing. Like I'm pretty much just like, obviously it's not great, but
Mm-hmm.
not concerned. This is concerning to me, given the nature of the injury, given who it is, given the timing, given this being a big game, not in a back-to-back. Terrifying. So yeah, I will be very nervous to draft Kawhi, and again, anyone want to buy my Kawhi teams?
Yeah, and this is, I mean, Kawhi's injuries come on as sneaky and silent as he is sometimes. Like that Sun series last year, I mean, he was playing massive minutes and then just ruled out with a knee injury and then had to undergo surgery. And typically things are pretty quiet with Kawhi. So certainly the antennas come up, especially when it's dealing with this right knee, as you mentioned, a lot of injury history on that knee. So not ideal. And the Clippers are about to enter a 4 games and 6 night stretch here as they try to hold on to the 4 spot with Dallas, creeping up slowly. The Clippers only 2 games up on Dallas. It looks like with 8 to play for both teams. So, still a chance that Dallas could potentially tie them for the 4 seed and get home court advantage in that matchup. So not great timing here for the Clippers, but hopefully Kawhi, it's just, hopefully just some swelling and an issue that will be resolved quickly and won't impact their playoff status. Because I definitely want to see Kawhi again in the playoffs with this team. On the Kings side, Kevin Huerter listed out still with that shoulder dislocation, and then Malik Monk listed out with a right knee sprain. Any insight here on the Kings who are missing, 2 of their most highly utilized shooting guards, and any chance of Bobby Portis late 6th man of the year run with Malik Monk out?
Malik all the way down to minus 150 now, which I think is fair. I still think he's going to win it. Bobby not getting steam. I think Norm is. I think Norm could be scary. Might be worth a sprinkle to get some Norm Powell there. So but yeah, not great. Expecting Monk to miss the rest of the season. That's obviously big news for Keegan Murray. Just going to get more on-ball handling, according to Mike Brown. So he's in a pretty big spot here. Again, going to have a pretty bad defensive matchup pretty much every night. And then Harrison Barnes' minutes are way safer now. So those guys definitely benefit. And then Davion Mitchell and Keon Ellis will continue to play a little bit more. Talk from Mike Brown saying they don't want to make Fox handle the whole time, just to mix up the offense. We know Fox has really grown as a shooter this year, but minutes are going to be huge. Obviously, he's going to handle more without Monk regardless. So, a lot of big news on Malik Monk. So a lot of fantasy goodness here. But I'm expecting a pretty strong finish from Keegan Murray, and then Harrison Barnes is not dead anymore. We used to just just ignore Harrison Barnes, never play him at a chalk.
Yeah, and Keon Ellis locked into probably decent minutes as well here with Davion Mitchell and Trey Lyles kind of as the 2 primary subs off the bench here for the Kings. So it could be a relatively tight 7-man rotation, with guys like Chris Duarte and Sasha Vezenkov, maybe even Kessler Edwards sprinkled in. So, but, the top 7, I think, pretty locked in at this point for the Kings.
Yeah, should note Sasha Vezenkov, the eternal questionable tags actually returns. The King is back. So yeah, but and that did kill Chris Duarte as well.
Yeah, returned in off the injury report, which we love to see. All right, Mike, any other closing thoughts before we get out of here?
Nah, just if anybody wants to DM me about buying a Kawhi team off me, let me know. No, I'm kidding. I think it's a lot big injury report today, a lot tomorrow. 7 teams on the front end of it back-to-back. So yeah, be ready. Again, a lot of I think be prepared for probables turning to questionables turning to not even listing guys and turning to out tags. 2 of them, 2 all-star players, basically. This is April, baby.
Yep. We are in April and a condensed schedule this week with no games next Monday for the college national championship game. So lot to monitor here, but you and Drew will be back tomorrow on the injury show, and then you and Drew behind the paywall tonight on the DFS show, analyzing all this stuff. So make sure to tune into that if you are a subscriber. But that will do it for this edition of the Established Run NBA Injury Analysis Show. As always, we ask for your support in promoting this free content by liking the video and subscribing to our YouTube channel. Our goal is to reach 5,000 subscribers by the end of the season. We're about 150 away. So all of you out there, count if you could just go down below the video, like and subscribe. It does mean a lot to us and helps us keep this content free for you guys. Great analysis, as always, by Mike. Keep that free so you guys can enjoy it. If you have interest in getting access to behind the paywall content, we have plenty of great stuff from Mike's matchups columns on Monday, Wednesday through Friday, to the daily DFS analysis shows at 5 p.m. Eastern time, top plays. Drew Dinkmeyer has been doing office hours every Thursday morning, answering any questions you have about DFS, life, all things included there for Drew. So unheralded, unbridled access to all of us behind the paywall at ETR. But that will do it for us today. As I mentioned, Drew and Mike back with you tomorrow as we manage this busy week of injuries. Hope everyone else has a great day out there. Go Cavs. Peace out.